So in the recent update we have received a brand new boat, however along with this a lot of changes have also been made to the current boats which we have in the game. So therefore in today's video guys I'll be ranking the top 8 boats in the game on how I personally see them, from which one you guys should use the most to which one you guys should definitely avoid using. So anyway, let's just jump right into it. Okay, so I was actually considering using the stuff like the new amphibious vehicles, however I will not be including it on this list, but I will be including it at the end of the video if I had to go ahead and rank them. Alright, so starting with the number 8 spot, we are going to be starting with the Rib. The Rib is pretty much the most useless vehicle I have ever seen in this game. Like, there is nothing special about it. It has 2 passenger seats, but you are just super exposed, it's so easy to kill you, and overall the Rib just has such a funny hitbox, and it's just so easy to hit you. I don't have more to say about this, but it is just probably the most useless vehicle in this whole entire game. So next up I'm going to be ranking the Vietnam Riverboat. The Vietnam Riverboat on the other side is a slight upgrade to the Rib, because it actually allows you to drive it, if the game's actually gonna let me do that. Yeah, it doesn't really go at the highest speed if I'm being completely honest. The Vietnam Riverboat is kind of like a meme, much like what the Rib is. However, it does have some kind of weaponry, which I quite like, but in order to actually make the Vietnam Riverboat better, please developers, if you're watching this video, make us be able to control these guns while we are the person who's actually not the gunner but just the driver in general, please. It would actually make this boat so much more fun to use, and some people as beginners would even consider using these guns. They ain't actually that bad, and I really like the design. Anyway, moving up next is going to be the Cirque on this list. It pretty much is the same as the Vietnam Riverboat, but it's just a slight upgrade. However, you are slightly more exposed, which is one problem I do have with the Cirque, and the fact that it has a bigger hitbox. But other than this, it does have more weaponry overall, it goes faster speed, and it also has more health. There's not much more I could say about it. I just believe it should be having exactly the same change as the Vietnam Riverboat. Please allow us to actually control these guns as the driver devs. Anyway, moving on to the number 5 spot, I'm actually going to be praising the jet ski. The only reason why I see the jet ski better than all of them is because the jet ski is one of the most unpredictable vehicles in the game, and it's just such an easy and fast way out after your base. If you guys need to like get out while you're being raided by like, let's say, like a whole clan or something, I just suggest you guys to be using like the jet ski. Nobody will actually expect you to be using this, and they probably won't be able to chase after you because they will then also expect you to be using this. Plus it has such a nice speed and hard hitbox in order to actually hit you. Other than that, the other vehicles are actually just useless. Anyways, now moving into the number 4 spot, which is where stuff actually starts to get interesting. I'm going to be ranking the Thermal as the number 4. So Thermal does actually have some cool things going for it, such as incredibly strong weaponry. However, another thing which I want to add to it is you guys are actually semi-hidden, and no area damage will actually be able to kill you unless it's going from above you. If something like hitting you on this side, then you're completely fine. However, moving into the weaponry, these guns are actually pretty strong. However, one problem with them is the fact that they do run out of ammo very quickly. You guys would also have to be facing in like this kind of shape in order to actually be able to hit your enemies, and this boat is just not really that tall either, so it's also going to be harder to deal with stuff that's on the ground, but it's just overall also not good for boat PvP. It only goes 45 knots as well. However, the health is actually pretty good, and I quite respect this boat, but I cannot rank it higher on this list. So next up, as the number 3 spot, I am going to be ranking the USS Douglas, and you might all be wondering, why am I ranking it so low on this list? Well, I'll be explaining to you guys right here. So first of all, the 2 missiles which it does have, as you guys have seen in yesterday's video, are literally an absolute joke. First of all, they do almost no damage to boats, not really the best damage to tanks, and they are only semi-decent for shooting helicopters out of the sky. But other than this gun here is only really good at taking down tanks. It's not really even that good against boats. Like, the USS Douglas looks strong, but the overall power of it is just not good at all. And I don't know why this health of this boat is actually so low. It's standing at like 1,700 health. It really does need a buff. Anyway, moving into the number 2 spot, we have ourselves the PR-206, and I'm actually not going to be ranking it as first, because this boat actually has 2 very big downsides, which can actually downplay you guys in a lot of fights. First of all, let's actually go for the positives of it. It has the highest health out of any boat in the whole entire game. Its cannons actually go and shoot for like a very long time, and they are actually incredibly powerful at both anti-air, but also taking down boats. Not to add, the torpedoes you can literally lock onto the nearby nearby enemies, and you guys could literally shred them. Not to add, it's just so good for attacking bases, because literally one of these torpedoes does 1100 damage to the shield. It just does so much. However, this boat does have a huge downside. First of all, you guys are very much incredibly exposed, and that is an absolute huge problem if you are playing as a boat player, because the health will pretty much become useless. Any type of area damage will literally be able to take you down, or even if people are not using area damage, most of the time they are still able to just cut you off and kill you while you're just driving this boat. That's the only downside of it, but other than this, the torpedoes can also be countered by people with aim, so of course I'm also going to be ranking it on the skill set of players. On average, people will be able to counter these torpedoes because they're actually pretty slow. And now moving into the number 1 spot, by a surprise to most of you, I'm going to be ranking the PG-02 as the best boat in the whole entire game. And there is actually a lot of explanations for it, so I'm gonna begin with the first one. First of all, this boat is the fastest boat in the game except for the jet ski. It can literally go to 65 knots. Second of all, it has such a nice turn rate. It is just so easy to get around from like ships or just any type of opponents which are chasing you. Even the stuff like tanks and etc. You guys could also really easily hide around the map with this. Not to add, this vehicle's little cram, or I guess I'm gonna say its main gun, is literally the best thing in the game into actually being able to counter the likes of helicopters and planes. If you guys have seen my gameplays, this thing literally absolutely shreds planes and helicopters. Not to add, its scope actually moves somewhat fast, which is also really nice to consider. Another thing which is really good about this is that this boat is a literal counter to the PR-206, because of these explosive cram, I'm just gonna call it for the sake of today's video, you guys could literally very easily counter the torpedoes. Not to add, you guys can also very much counter stuff like the USS Douglas, because it is not able to fire missiles at you, or they won't even be able to fire their own shells at you if you guys do circle them good enough. Pretty much this is the fastest boat in the game, which is also what makes it one of the best and the most efficient at everything it does. It's really just a boat counter and a helicopter counter at the same time. Oh yeah, and I forgot to add, it's the only boat in the game which also has a smoke screen, which literally allows it to get away from missiles that get sent by planes as well. So once again, another benefit. Anyway guys, that is all I have for you all in today's video. Let me know in the comment section down below how you'd rank these. Here's a screenshot on the screen right now. If I was to add the amphibious vehicles on this list as well, personally I would be ranking them somewhere in the middle, but better than the thermal. Anyway, let me know what you think, and I really suggest you guys to be using the PG-02. It's incredibly underrated.